After the real heiress Lily came back, I returned to the village. My ex-fiancé Dave, who's in the UK, messaged me. It snowed in London. I miss you. What are you up to? I scattered a handful of corn on the ground to free my hands and replied, feeding chickens. He never gets discouraged. The UK is on daylight saving time now. Will you bring the chickens to meet me before Christmas? I glanced at the free-range chickens beside me, and then at my grandma cleaning chicken poop. Unfortunately, I told him, no, grandma would kill me. Also, don't message me anymore. Your fiancé has changed. Dave typed for a few minutes. Then he sent a voice message. The signal here isn't great, so his voice came through with static. What do you mean by changed? I didn't have time to reply before he added, is it storming there? I remember, you're afraid of thunderstorms. No thunder, just a tractor drove by. Carefully, I spelled it out. Actually, I'm not the daughter of the rich family. I'm in the countryside feeding chickens now. The real heiress the family's planned for is here now, so I guess you'd need a new person. It was silent on his end for a while. Before he could say anything else, I hung up and blocked him. This marriage was just a business deal between two families. Now that we're worlds apart, there's no chance of being together. Better to end it now. I covered my face. As tears were about to fall, I remembered I needed to collect the eggs next. I'll cry later. When I left the rich family, I didn't take anything with me. My foster parents insisted I take my clothes and jewelry, but I politely declined. Their real daughter Lily stood by. She grew up in the countryside. Bright and cheerful, not at all awkward. She opened her clear eyes and said frankly, the mix-up was just an accident, not your fault. You can stay, I replied. But I took your place and lived so well for so many years. At least let me go back and experience your life for a bit. Too many words and I almost bit my tongue. She scratched her head. All right then. Before leaving, I only added Lily's message. She said she'd send me a PDF about postpartum care for sows. Any questions about raising pigs and feeding chickens, I could ask her anytime. With a heart full of brave determination and Lily's kindness, I boarded the bus back to my hometown. I started my life of cutting pig grass up the mountain and feeding chickens down it. Once Dave told me, UK going on daylight saving time means our time difference is now 8 hours, giving us an extra hour to love each other. Half a day in the village. I figured it out. Who needs love when I only care about when my hens lay eggs? So I turned towards the chicken coop. The hen was laying on the eggs, leaving me a bit stuck on how to start. After thinking it over, I opened message and asked Lily, how do I get the eggs if the hen is laying on them? She sent a voice message, cheerful as ever. Just feed the hen some corn first before you go for the eggs. It's a tried and true trick. I grabbed a handful of corn, offered it to the hen, then reached in and pulled out a warm egg. After setting the egg aside and washing my hands, I replied, thanks, Lily. No need to be so polite. The voice cut off halfway. In the background, I heard her foster mom's voice. Lily, can't you speak properly? I chuckled slightly, then thought maybe it wasn't the right reaction. I'd reflect on it later, and maybe build up some moral credit. That evening, the family gathered around a wooden table for dinner. I was a bit cautious, only taking the veggies in front of me. Grandma adjusted her apron, speaking in her imperfect Mandarin. What's wrong, Cora? Don't like the food? Tomorrow I'll cook a chicken. I quickly shook my head, no need. She nodded, a bit nervous. Okay then. Just let us know if you need anything. I agreed. It's nice here too, just a little hard getting used to at first. At night, Lily video called me. She leaned on her bed, resting her chin on her hands. Getting used to it. I said I'll grow accustomed. She sighed. When will I ever learn replies as tactful as yours? I smiled. You're so smart, you'll pick it up in no time. Smooth talker. Next time, let's cut pig grass together. I nodded, sure thing. While chatting about life now, Lily suddenly changed the topic. Why do you block my brother-in-law? Brother-in-law. I hesitated, who? Dave, duh. Now even high EQ can't find the right words. Lily had just come home. She didn't seem to know this stuff. I said, why talk about him? She said, he wants me to pass on a message. Oh, my English accent is funny. I'll just send you a clip. It was a line from a movie. I'd rather spend a mortal lifetime with you than face all the changes of this world alone. Cora, got anything to say? I thought for a moment, couldn't explain much at once. Tomorrow morning, sweet potato porridge, with a side of pickles. Lily's eyes laughed into crescents. You've got a good taste. The next morning a rooster crowed. I got up at dawn, eating a steaming bowl of sweet potato porridge with, as wished, some pickles. Then I could grab a basket and head up the mountain to cut pig grass. Grandma said, just rest at home, don't worry about chores. I insisted, if Lily's done it then so will I. She touched her head, feeling a bit confused. I picked up the basket, grabbed a sickle, and headed up the trail Lily gave me. The trees were dense on the mountain, lush plants everywhere, not a soul in sight. Only the wind rustling through the leaves. After cutting grass for half an hour, I got scared. When I was little, my foster mom warned me never to be alone in such places. If anything happened, it'd be hard to discover. The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. And I sprinted down with a basket full of grass. Ran so fast I fell down once. By the time I got home, I looked a mess. My hair was a mess covered with leaves. Remembering Lily's hardships made me feel even guiltier. Once I got a signal, I texted her, I'm sorry. Cora, what's up? She replied. Choking up, I said, I didn't realize how hard things were for you back then. Lily said, I wasn't having a tough time. Where have you been? I replied, cutting grass for pigs. She joked, turns out I was born to cut pig grass. Hand me the sickle. That made me laugh, and I felt a lot lighter instantaneously. I thought I'd miss Dave a lot, but when you're busy feeding chickens, you don't have time for that. I realized how fragile I was. Learning I wasn't their actual daughter nearly broke me, but working on the farm kept me grounded. Keeping occupied seemed to make everything else fade away for a while. Over more than a month, Lily and I shared tips on farm work. Dave found ways to get messages to me. I felt torn apart. I was sad yet unyielding. Mid-December came along, and Dave was set to take his usual Christmas break. Normally, at this time, I'd fly to London to spend the holidays with him. But now, I joked that I feared he'd roast one of my chickens like a turkey. Honestly, our different backgrounds meant we couldn't be together. The first snow fell in the village, and I sent a video to Lily. Excitedly, she said she wanted to come back home to see it. In our chat, she mentioned casually, Dave's back in the country. Really? I was surprised. She added he plans to come find you. If he's coming, I thought, I ought to make an extra serving of sweet potato congee. That night I dreamed of Dave. He wore a camel coat, walking under the angel lights. Snowflakes fell like soft down. His eyes reflected the warm yellow streetlights. He told me, once I graduate, let's get married. I remembered I once said yes to that. But in the dream, I awkwardly rubbed my hands and said, no, my sow's about to give birth. I have to head home. Then, I was awakened by the rooster's crow. I got up and slipped into my flower-patterned jacket with red peonies, grabbed some feed, and went to the chicken coop. After tending to the chickens, I returned for a warm bowl of congee. Life was simple and straightforward. Lily didn't arrive until close to noon. She parked the car in the yard. Holding her skirt up, she ran to the house like a fledgling returning home, calling for Grandma. My adoptive mother came out slowly. Seeing me, she furrowed her brows, slightly pained, and said, Cora, you've lost weight. She took my hand like always. Once you've had enough, just come back. Lily won't mind having a sister. Lily was a wonderful person. I knew she wouldn't mind, but going back would be unfair to her. I shook my head. No, she's lived like this for more than 20 years. I realize she'll have to adjust to her family for a long time. But I'm still closer to my adoptive mother. We're more alike. Our family has the resources to give both daughters a good life. But I can't comfortably take away what's meant for Lily. I've already enjoyed her good life for over 20 years. My adoptive mother sighed, said no more, and gazed at the distant mountains. By midday, Grandma killed a chicken. The 2 drumsticks were for Lily and me. I rarely ate meat with bones since it wasn't that elegant to eat. Lily didn't care and gnawed away. Mom frowned slightly, displeased, but said nothing in front of everyone. After the meal, Lily cleared the table and went to the kitchen. My adoptive mother whispered in my ear, Lily will never be as thoughtful as you. I raised you myself. You're much more sensible than her. I hesitated but decided to say, Auntie, Lily would feel hurt if she heard this. She didn't need to learn before. She'll get better over time. She sighed, all right. I gathered the remaining dishes and headed to the back kitchen, where Lily was scrubbing dishes with a loofah, quite skillfully. I put the dishes down and said, let me. She replied, I clean better than you. True that. I insisted, how can I let you wash dishes? We playfully fought over it. Lily relented and made some space. All right, let's do it together then. Watch my expert technique, guaranteed cleanliness. In the afternoon, Lily put on her old knitted gloves and came to find me to build a snowman. While rolling snow, she casually asked, Cora, why aren't you and Dave together anymore? The wind was chilly. I wrapped my scarf over my face and murmured, the family cares about matching social status. She said, but if you like each other, isn't that enough? I didn't want us to be tangled up only to be torn apart by family later. Besides, Dave should have been Lily's childhood sweetheart. I didn't know how to tell her all this, so I just lowered my head and said quietly, when his family cuts him off, he'll come to his senses. Talking about Dave made my chest feel tight, like there was a net around my heart, unable to release the sadness. Lily said, all right, I don't get it. Let's talk about the family so instead. The sow was due. She started counting on her fingers, listing how to care for a sow post-birth. She looked at me steadily while speaking. Cora, don't feel that I suffered before. I was actually quite happy. I was the only child, rarely asked to do chores. I just wanted to help. I even studied veterinary medicine to help with pig childbirth back home. She paused and held my hand. Don't internalize so much. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. Thank you, Lily. Just as we finished the snowman, Dave arrived. The yard couldn't fit another car, so he parked at the village entrance and walked through the light snow to us. Lily immediately jumped up and ran back into the house. Talk it out, I'm outta here. It had been 3 months since I last saw him. Flakes of snow dusted his eyelashes, his pale face slightly flushed from the cold. Cora, I can't sail or steer a boat, but if you were on a distant shore, I'd brave the waves to find you, my treasure. He said this to me many times before, but my feelings now are completely different. What's with the boats and steering? Next time I return, I'll just fly economy class. I said, I don't understand. Speak normally. Dave gave in. Even if you're in the village, I'll find you. Let's talk, Cora. We walked down a country road. His voice was rich and soothing like wine. First time seeing you in a floral jacket, and it looks nice. I sighed. I'm no longer that rich family's daughter. I was raised to believe relationships need to be well matched, no charity cases. Yeah, now I'm the broke one, but the principle is the same. If I'm climbing up to your status, I'm always a step below. While you're in London seeing angel lights, I'm feeding chickens in a coop. Dave chimed in, cluck cluck, feed me too. He playfully interrupted my emotional moment. I was ready to cry in the snow, but now my sadness evaporated. He casually stuck his hands in his coat pockets. Okay, maybe I'm not that funny, but Cora, our love is enough. My voice cracked a bit. You're always such an idealist. He looked down at me. Your words still love me. It felt like punching soft cotton. He said, I only want you, Cora. Whether you're feeding chickens or cleaning barns. I asked, but what if your folks don't approve of you dating a fake rich girl and cut off your credit? Studying abroad could get tough. Dave responded, I have a full scholarship, so tuition's not a worry. Plus, I've got everything planned out. I've found the safest and cheapest ways to travel. I can bus it to the northwest, walk 100 kilometers daily. Crossing the English Channel is tricky, but I'll get a glow-in-the-dark swim ring. I'll snack on fresh seafood right from the ocean. For places to stay, I could go homeless and even get a stipend. He rattled off a whole list in one breath. I needed time to process. My brain stalled at the thought of walking 100 kilometers. Did you put a pig's head from a museum on your neck? He chuckled, no, just wanted you to see how sincere I am. I exhaled gently, give me some time, please. Time to start over. Dave wanted to see what I did daily. I took him to the pig pen, rolled up my sleeves, and expertly fed the pigs. The sow was about to give birth, needed deworming meds too. The pig pen didn't smell great, but he didn't seem to mind. Later I'll cut pig grass, you feed pigs, we'll be happy forever. I calmly looked at him. Do you know how hard mountain paths are? Dave replied, I've practiced rock climbing. Another punch on soft cotton. He said, I mean, love can flatten mountains and oceans. I rubbed my temples, forget about that, go clean up the pig manure. He picked up a straw broom and actually started sweeping. After he was done, he seriously asked, should I take the manure to the fields? I shook my head, no need, it's winter. He put the broom back. Even in winter, my heart isn't cold. Pigs snorted nearby, and chickens clucked. But his voice came through clearly, like a stone thrown in a lake, making waves in my heart. I turned my head to calm down. I've been here feeding chickens for a month. My heart's as tough as frozen chicken poop. He sighed deeply. Some fall in love, others gaze at the sea at night, and some cross oceans and fail to reach their fiancés. I muttered to myself, some feed chickens at dawn and get pecked. Dave was staying at a village inn, and Lily was staying too. She claimed she had bonded with a sow and wanted to be there for its birth. Not sure how she convinced her foster mom. Her foster mom left looking helpless but didn't scold her. At night, Lily brought her pillow to share my room. We warmed ourselves by an old stove. The flickering firelight danced across her face. Cora, actually, right after you left, the family brought up the engagement again. I felt a twinge of sadness, figured as much. She said, I promised I wouldn't take your man, but Dave's dad kept pushing his contact info on me. My heart clenched, and then? She continued, then Dave rebelled. His card got a spending limit too, flew back economy class. He might go homeless overseas for you. That's why I agreed to pass along his message. My mind went blank for a sec. Instinctively, I thought of Dave. The once carefree rich kid was now worried about airfare because of me. My heart felt heavy. I said, please tell him to stop this. Lily shook her head. You both have mouths, I'm done messaging. Let's talk about serious stuff, Cora. I replied, all right. Snow pattered softly outside. Inside, it was warm and perfect for a heart-to-heart. Lily hugged her pillow and quietly said, before I returned home, I had some grudges against you. I slid to my knees apologetically, I'm sorry. She said, stop apologizing. Before meeting you, I thought if you acted like other fake rich girls and targeted me, I'd rally 1 million internet users for sneaky revenge. But you left with nothing, just all fresh and willing to help your grandma with work back in the village. She touched her chin, acting all greasy. Girl, you're different. She leaned in, her eyes sparkling. Getting swapped wrong took some fate, huh? I nodded and smiled slightly. Yeah, it did. Such a small chance. Yet here I am walking down the life path meant for her. She said, but it feels like my mom's not happy with me. I've studied for over a month, and I'm still unsure about getting into the company. I comforted her. It's just a matter of time. You managed hundreds of chickens before. Managing people's not beyond you. Unlike me, I'm still getting pecked by chickens. Lily snickered. With your status, don't you just pick one and it's gone? I said, true, but I can't go around eliminating every single chicken, can I? She said, but seriously, want to join the company and learn with me? There are things I really don't get, like when there are 12 liters, but only 11 cups of water. Help me out, Cora. I'm just a small, helpless vet. As for Grandma, I'll get someone to assist her. You can't just feed pigs forever, right? I hesitated a bit, then nodded. After seeing that paternity test, I was lost for a while, couldn't sleep at all. I wasn't sure how to restart my life. I had a path all set. At 22, graduating with a degree in business information management, joining our family's company. Then in a few years, marry Dave. That paternity test turned everything upside down. Staying in the company felt wrong, and I didn't know what to do next. Lost, I returned to the village to manage hundreds of chickens and haggled pig prices with the traders. Grandma would always rub her hands, smiling with a slight hint of distance, praising me. Cora studied abroad, she's smart, even sells pork at over $10 a pound. All I could do was smile and nod along. My thoughts were everywhere. What was I supposed to do now? How do I let go of the past pride and find a plain job to survive? I had no clue. Then Lily spoke up. She thought I could help her. It felt like finding a lifeline when you're drowning. I was teary-eyed, choked up. Thank you, Lily. She said, I should be thanking you, Cora. All right, sleep time. She tugged the blanket over both of us. Good night. I didn't sleep. Deep in the night, I tiptoed out of bed, threw on a floral jacket, and stepped outside. I took Dave off the blocked list, and with trembling hands, sent a voice message. He picked it up instantly. His voice was soft, just like always, with a bit of a teasing tone. It's snowing outside and my heart too. Is my fiancé here to pour cold water on me again? Home was close, and it made things awkward. I didn't know what to say, so I asked, "Did you book your flight back to London?" He said yeah. Just one word told me my answer. Economy class? He paused for 3 seconds, then chuckled. You guessed it. He added proudly. I waited a long time to get the ticket. Only cost me 1,600. I sighed. Youth has no price tag, straight to London. He tried to sound lighthearted. I might not come back for Easter. Next time would be after graduation when I'm free from my dad's control. Then his voice faded. Let's not part ways, okay? Dave had already come 99 steps towards me. I heard myself say, okay. A few days later, the sow at home gave birth. Lily personally assisted the delivery, and even took care of the sow afterwards. With her mind set, she wanted to take me back to the city. Once again, I got into the family car. Lily sat next to me, excited and nervous. Her hands tightly gripped her coat hem, trembling. I'm about to start a new chapter, Cora. I smiled at her. Go for it, Lily. The car slowly drove out of the village. I turned back for one more look at the place where I'd only briefly stayed. When Lily returned, her new identity wasn't officially announced. But everyone knew. When we both stepped into the company, there were some curious glances. I didn't care. Her letting me work there was enough. What others thought didn't matter. My job was Lily's secretary. Growing up in the company with my adoptive father taught me the ropes and social skills. And I knew the regular clients. I booked the restaurant for Lily's first client meeting. After calling around for preferences, I handpicked each dish. I listed out reminders for her in detail. In a hotel hallway, I ran into an old friend, Sia. She'd once lowered herself to partner up her family with the rich, cozying up to me. Now, arms crossed, she mocked. Didn't expect to see the day you're working for someone else, Cora. I knew her angle. She wanted back the face she'd lost to me back then. No point entangling with fools. I glanced at her coolly and turned to leave. She blocked my way, persistent. What's she paying you? I can offer more work for me. We don't have that big of a grudge, do we? Did she think Lily and I had some major feud? I was so mad I started laughing, just about to cuss her out when Lily walked over. She stood in front of Sia and raised her voice even more. Who do you think you are? Asking my sister to work for you? You should be growing mushrooms in a cellar. And if you don't have a cellar, just forget it. She's always been sharp-tongued. It took a second to even get what she was saying. Sia was stunned for a few seconds, then her face turned red. Lily affectionately linked her arm with mine and said, Don't bother with her. Let's go, Cora. Teach me how to respond smartly. I really can't handle those elders. I chuckled, all right. I rented an apartment near the company. Lily often asked me to stay at her place, but I always politely declined. I was worried our foster mom would compare us again, which would upset Lily. Ever since Lily stood up for me, my colleagues started treating me better. Maybe they realized the whole fake and real daughters thing isn't such a big deal after all. I joked with her, what's this about? Leaning on Big Sis for support? She laughed, Cora, I've got your back. Dave went back to school in the UK. He's been cooking for himself. London's raining, and I really miss you. What are you up to? The picture showed some bland, not so great white people food. I replied, it better not rain, can't dry the corn then. Dave, back to farming? Me. Just kidding, haha. Helping Lily organize some spreadsheets. Then I casually sent him 5,000. Note, eat something good. Lily pays me well. I'm like a business locust, tagging along with her to meetings and snagging snacks. I don't spend much, so it's easy to save up and send some to the wandering London soul, Dave. He sent back a shocked emoji, and then rejected it. Man, I just love living the life, finding scraps to eat. You should keep the money. Since you can reject it on message, I quietly slipped it into his Alipay. I attend different events with Lily. She's getting the hang of things, chatting effortlessly with all sorts of big shots. When talking about me, she always says with a smile, this is my sister, Cora. Her attitude is like the family's attitude. So in most people's eyes, I became the second daughter of a wealthy family. As summer came, Dave graduated. With him back, work took a back seat. I asked Lily beforehand to get time off to pick him up from the airport. She agreed right away, and even pulled out a contract from the bottom of the drawer for me. Mom and Dad prepared this dowry for you ages ago. 15% of the company shares. Plus, there are a few houses, the deeds and keys are at home. I'll bring them tomorrow. I was dumbfounded. Isn't it a bit early for dowries? I'm just picking him up. She touched her chin. Yeah, but just sign it anyway. I said I don't want it. I'm not taking any extra. Lily, but Mom and Dad already decided. I thought it over. Then I'll give it to you. She said, you're really something, you know. I checked the time. Enough talk, sis. I'm off to the airport. I took the subway first, then rode a bike for a bit. On the way, I picked up a milk tea for Dave. Something he hadn't tried before. Figured I'd let him taste it. I waited only a little at the exit when he came out with his luggage. Dave looked a bit thinner. His short-sleeved shirt was from last summer's collection. Seeing me, he smiled. You're here, Cora. I nodded, handing him the fresh orange juice I had in my hand. He stuck in a straw and started sipping. Did you drive here? I said I biked. He insisted, you would have biked for hours just to see me, huh? You definitely have a thing for me. Actually, I took the subway too. Whatever, no need to go into details. I laughed. Yeah, you got it. Since Dave had luggage, biking together wasn't an option. We hailed a cab instead. Setting the destination, I asked, want to go home? He shook his head. Dad said if he sees me again, he'll break my legs. He always knew his limits, never caused any trouble. But at his age, I didn't expect he'd rebel to the point where his usually satisfied elders would threaten him. I felt a bit guilty. All right then, my place first. I took Dave back to my rented apartment. On the way, he got a call. His dad's stern voice came through. Have you admitted you're wrong? Dave stubbornly said no. Dad, she's not just some poor girl. She promised when I returned from studying we'd work on the family business together. The other side was so angry, their voice shook. Whose business? Not mine, I hope. Dave said no. I'll handle yours, she'll manage her sister's. We've both got bright futures. Then the call ended. Half a year ago, this would have made me anxious, worried I'd hold him back. Now, after working for half a year, I'm more chill about it. Yeah, I'm like a punk. So what? Come dinner time, I was about to order takeout. But Dave had already mapped out the local market. I'll cook. He bought the ingredients, put on an apron, and started chopping at the counter. In the warm yellow light, his profile looked so dependable. Last year, both families agreed we'd marry once he got his master's. But then things happened, and no one brought it up again. Dave made a bet with his rich kid friends. The bet was whether he'd succeed in starting his own business. Because of a bet, he borrowed millions. Then he started working at home around the clock. As usual, I helped Lily with all sorts of things, so she wouldn't have to worry about anything. Later on, she became capable on her own, and started handling more business. Her adoptive dad was really pleased with her progress. He happily announced in front of everyone, I really have 2 wonderful daughters. He still sees me as a daughter too. Dave succeeded in his startup. He's really established himself now. His dad finally gave in, and told him to hurry back to take over the family business. As for the engagement, it still had to happen. Lily gave me some time off to prepare for the wedding. She handed me a pile of notebooks, saying, this is for you. My client's sister's best friend got married, and the sister gave the best friend a lot of stuff. I can't be outdone. That strange sense of competitiveness. I laughed, eyes crinkled. You're so sweet, sis. I want to stick with you forever. I've gotten used to being in the sister role. I'm going to be the ever-supportive sister. Before, I was the only daughter of a wealthy family. My adoptive parents were strict, insisting I never show emotion, and always remain composed. I felt like I was being held captive by the idea of being as calm as a breeze. I couldn't really connect with other girls from similar backgrounds. We just interacted politely. Lily was my only true friend, the only person I could genuinely call a sister. When Grandma found out I was getting married, she prepared a lot of stuff for me. All the pigs and chickens from home were coming with me. Dave set aside part of the yard for a pigsty and a chicken coop. His dad, seeing this, wasn't thrilled, thinking Dave was up to no good again. Dave earnestly told me, "The pigs and chickens are Grandma's way of showing affection. I'll take good care of them." I replied quietly, "Isn't there a chance Grandma meant for us to, eat them?" He seemed a bit unsure. "Do we have to? I'd be attached to them." I said, "Okay then. We'll give the pigs and chickens a good end." A bit abstract, but I get it. On the wedding day, both my adoptive and biological parents were there. Some of the guests were my distant relatives from the countryside, but most were the rich relatives from my adoptive family and their side. A big screen showed the history between me and Dave. At 16, I went abroad for high school and became Dave's junior. A young love-struck boy wrote, "This endless universe is nothing but an illusion to me." I, clueless and unromantic, replied, "Could you speak more plainly?" Dave, all right. At 18, I accepted his confession. When I came home for the holidays, our family set up an engagement since it was a perfect match, and both families cooperated. At 21, I returned home to start a long-distance relationship with him. He took photos of every first snow in London, inviting me, "Will you come before Christmas?" Until last year, when I fell from grace and became a false heiress, ending up back in the countryside, tending to chickens. He ignored his family's demands for the first time, and lived on a strict budget, almost becoming homeless in London. The video ended. His voice was tender, "Cora, I can't steer a boat, but if you're on a distant shore, I'll brave the storms to find you, my treasure." The video was beautifully romantic. Lily led the applause. Down below, Dave's dad, playing the villain of the day, looked upset. Dave and I exchanged smiles. From then on, our endless summer would never fade.